Yo, it's been a minute since I hopped on the pod, but I had to hop on the pod for this special episode. Welcome back to the 1497 podcast, baby. You know the vibes. It's your boy John in the cut. I wish my boy, partner in crime, Michael was here, but Michael couldn't be here today. But we have a very special guest, the man, the myth, the legend, the founder of Call Your Friends Clothing, Mr. Kevin Owens.
John, I appreciate that. I wouldn't say the man, the myth, the legend, but I appreciate the introduction. No, I really appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to chat. I'm excited to just dive into whatever you want to talk about, man.
Yeah, I'm excited too because I've been entering a new world of just like Chicago fashion. And I just been seeing a lot of creators like yourself do a lot of dope shit with fashion and like really using mental health as like the backbone to your designs. And it's just so special to see that because you're just marking on such a big issue in society and being like, hey, like everything's going to be okay. Like it creates like a topic point for everyone in Chicago that sees your clothing and sees your designs around that. I think that's just so unique.
Yeah, no, I mean, you described it, really well. I think I kind of look at it as um, two businesses in one at a certain sense. And, obviously my love for fashion, my obsession for fashion is a better way to put it. And then also, obviously, mental health in Chicago across the world it's a crisis, and so to be able to kind of, you know, join those two together, two things that I'm really passionate about, and to create something like Call Your Friends has been really special for me, for sure. It's been definitely a crazy ride, and we've only been in business for a month now, and it feels like 10 years. I could tell you that, but in the best way possible. So it's cool. Yeah, it's really surreal at times, for sure.
And I love that answer because with me in like the club world and like everything like that, like it's been a short period of time since I've been inside of it, but it feels like I've been in there for years. Like the people that you meet along the way, the connections that you can join in the sense of like becoming friends with them and like just talking to them. It feels like you've known these people for years, but like you literally just met them yesterday or like you literally just met them like a couple months ago. So it just creates like such a vibe between you, especially in fashion in Chicago, because like you get to meet a lot of dope people along the way.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's been, and I keep going back to it, kind of just like the twofold of, the type of people that I've met in Chicago, just in the fashion scene. Because I'm currently in fashion school. I would say I try to attend as many, whether it be, you know, just talks on anything that regards fashion or any panels that regard fashion. I try to reciprocate myself into everything that I can, just to network with the different type of people that are in the Chicago fashion scene. And it's just wild the amount of people that, are receptive to, wanting to either work together or just even bounce ideas off of each other. Um, but it's just been, it's been really cool to kind of, you know, be welcomed with open arms in the fashion scene in Chicago. Um, and then, like I said, as far as like the kind of two businesses in one, you also, from a mental health perspective, um, you know, the amount of people that I've met and been able to have just very meaningful, special conversations with is has just been like I said, surreal. I mean, it's just so cool to be able to just meet someone right off the bat and be able to, you know that, there's people that are looking out for you, or there's people that care for you. And so I mean, like, it's super cliche to say, but like it's just a surreal feeling, man.
And those feelings, like, you can never take away those feelings. I was talking to my homie 2 days ago about, like, you experience something for the first time and you're like, "Holy shit, like, this is so cool." Or, like, you get to, like, a cool experience where, like, you get to talk to Drake or whatever. Like, the first time that happens, you're like, "Holy shit, like, this is, like, I'm here, like, I'm actually at this moment." And I feel like with fashion, beyond that first moment, you're always going to experience that. And one thing that someone really important in my life told me literally yesterday was like, it's not about the experience, it's about who you experience, who it's about the people that experience it with you. And it's always different with that different person around. So like building your circle and obviously like building your brand around that circle and making sure like, hey, like these are my right hand people. I'm able to trust them. So when you were making Call Your Friends, how hard was it to really find those people to align in your circle and be like, okay, I can do business with these people?
Yeah, that's a great question. And when I first initially came up with the idea, I knew that I wanted to do it with, um, you know, my friends, my homies at that time. So I kind of pitched the idea to a couple different people, um, and they were all on board. So really, it's been a really cool experience to be able to work with friends, and just because, like, getting into business with friends can sometimes be tricky, but it really hasn't been, because we all have the same obsession, the same passion, the same, you know, in regards to fashion, in regards to mental health, like, you know, and I said it in one of my first kind of promo videos when I was first introducing Call Your Friends. Um, I never wanted this to be my brand, and I never wanted this to be our brand, in the sense of like the guys that I'm working with. I wanted it to be the community's brand. And it's kind of, it can sound corny, but the way that I really pictured it is, it's much more than just a clothing brand at the end of the day, because um, not only are we obviously selling high quality clothing, but we're also doing it for obviously a very good cause. And um, when I first was um, looking for kind of a partner to help me out with, um, as far as like the philanthropy side. So a lot of brands kind of, give towards mental health awareness. And I think that's, absolutely fantastic. And there's obviously, nothing wrong with that. But as a consumer, at the end of the day, I didn't really know where my dollar was going, if that kind of makes sense. So I would support these brands. And then a lot of the times, the clothes were, just fast fashion, a lot of, kind of cheap material. But I really supported the cause because that's what I cared about. Um, so when first coming up with the idea, I really wanted to kind of have a twofold of, you know, making really high quality garments, sourcing my own material, you know, making the actual cut and sew and prototyping it, you know, all myself. And then in turn with that, reaching out to, I think I talked to 15 to 20 uh, not for profits that I was very passionate about setting up a fund in, you know, call your friends or my name or whatever. I didn't really want to be associated with it. So it's in call your friend's name. Um, but I wanted to set up a fund that would be used to help underprivileged people in Chicago pay for therapy. So kind of what I'm getting at is, you know, as a consumer, when you go and you buy, call your friends, you one know that you, like you know you're getting a high quality garment as far as like from a fashion perspective. And then two, you're also you know exactly where your dollar is going. You know, rather than, and once again, not saying that, you know, giving towards mental health awareness is bad by any means. It's just I wanted my consumers to know exactly where that dollar was going at the end of the day. I finally, after talking to a lot of nonprofits, not for profits, um, I partnered with Rebecca's Dream. Their local they're a local nonprofit in Chicago. And basically, when I pitched them the idea, you know, they were more or less like, you know, this isn't something that we do, but we want to put all of our efforts into trying to do it. And like when they first said that, I was like, boom, like these are the type of people that I want to work with because I was so passionate about um, one therapy and providing therapy to people in Chicago that you know can't afford it because I know the benefits of it personally. I know the benefits of it that I've seen just from you know my personal network, and then also, I just feel like it gives such a deeper meaning to, you know, the consumer at the end of the day because, you know, they know where their dollar is going dollar by dollar, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's really, really cool because, like, I think, like, most people, especially now, they would do something just to be like, "Hey, like, okay, like, I'm doing this for, like, glamorous reasons, like, I want people to pay attention towards what I'm putting my efforts into," which is good and bad at the same time because it's kinda like it takes, like, the organic feeling away from it, but what what you were explaining, it's like, I don't want my name to be involved, I just want the company to be involved because it's just more than just me. It's for the people that need therapy, it's for the people that can't afford therapy, and just the constant message of that and people being like, "All right, like, let's get on board with this.
Yeah,
Let's do this, let's do that. Let's create a brand to where we're focusing on people with that needs therapy but can't afford therapy." I just think it's dope because it gives more people an access to something to be like, okay, like no pun intended, but like call your friend. Like we're able to figure something out where it's like I can we can go to therapy. We can have this safe space where we can talk to each other because I feel like therapy for a lot of people works in miraculous ways because
yeah,
they're there to give you an opinion or not a like their opinion, but not in like a objectifying way as like a friend would give it to you. Because if you're telling a friend like a story or whatever, they're going to side with you 9 times out of 10 because they
Yeah.
want you to see the side that they see. But like from a therapist point perspective, they're going to give you side A and side B being like the perpetrator and then you.
Yeah.
So I just think that's really cool. And then I also thought it was really cool that you were talking about fast fashion and like the dynamics of that. So go into, because I've never heard someone say like, hey, we're going to do this in a fast fashion type of dynamic. So go into the meaning of that and go into how you worked into that versus like authentic fashion, if that's a thing.
Yeah. I think me and I can't remember who it was, but me and just some of my buddies were talking about, just the meaning of fast fashion or what is considered fast fashion. And um, I think it does have kind of a negative connotation attached to it for sure, um, for various reasons. Um, I mean, one is primarily because, in most cases, environmentally, it's just not good for the environment. But also in terms of, um, you know, fast fashion, just in general, it's like I mentioned earlier, it's pieces that, can be, slapped together in a couple of days um, you know, to be a garment in general. And, like a lot of big brands and, I'll call them out, like, the Zaras of the world or something like that, where, they have these, massive factories across all of China and wherever it might be, where they literally see something on the runway and they're able to, um, because they're able to put that on their shelves in a week later, because they have the, no silhouette, is, you can't put a, what's the word I'm looking for? You can't put a, like a copyright on a silhouette. So a lot of these brands, they see something that's really cool on a runway, and then they're able to turn it over really fast, hence fast fashion, and then put it on their shelves a week later and sell it for one fifth, 1/100th of the price that some of these higher brands are selling it for. Which, like, that's why I kind of mentioned, it has its ups and downs, because it gives people the ability to buy, clothes that are fashionable, at a much cheaper price. And I think that's one small positive of it. But for me, it's, I, I think that a lot of people, you know, don't really understand just the actual work and effort, and, as corny it sounds, like the love that goes into, um, you know, making a garment, like even our hoodies. Like it takes, it takes serious time. Like I came up with, um, the idea, probably the idea of Call Your Friends, a, a year and a half before I ever released anything. And I think a lot of people were confused, um, why I was, mentioning like, hey, I'm doing this thing, Call Your Friends, but it's not releasing for a year and a half. Um, and I think a lot of people have just gotten kind of, um, just used to kind of like the Amazon effect and the just the fast fashion effect where things can like just come at an instance. But the reason that I did that was because I knew that it was going to take. I needed that year and a half to actually put the time and effort into making these garments because you know one thing that I'll never you know um, I'll never skimp on is quality. And you know if it has to take a little bit more time to develop or a little bit more money to develop, that's what I have to do. And so I think that was a long-winded answer, kind of to your question, but I think that's a little bit just how I associate fast fashion, and then how it's just much different than what I'm trying to do. Because I want people to um, obviously, care about the cause, and be behind the cause. But I also want people to have something that's going to last them for the rest of their lives. Um, so yeah, that's kind of a long-winded answer to your to your question, but I could talk about that for days.
And that's good, and I sense it too because you're just so passionate about it, and I love it so much because, like, when you when you talk to people about things that they're passionate about, like, it's just so good to just listen and just feel the enthusiasm just come out about, like, how you're explaining, like, certain concepts or how you're breaking down those concepts, and like those long-winded answers are honestly the best answers sometimes because you're able to gain so much within that answer of fast fashion. Because like you would think of like runway shows in New York and how like New York runs fashion, and some designers like, hey, I want this in my hands by Tuesday morning. And like all the interns will all scramble together, try to throw some shit at it, and then voila, it's like something. He was like, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it right there. It kinda reminds me of the movie with Will Ferrell, Steve Carell or not Steve Carell, Owen Wilson was in it too. I think it was called, like, Outlanders or something like that, where, like, both of them, like, they were, like, really, like, popular, like, models, and
Oh,
yeah,
Zoolander.
there we go, Zoolander. It that term reminds me of Zoolander so much because like, I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it, I'm like, "Damn," like, they was really just throwing shit together, it just
Yeah. And
voila.
yeah, and you made me kind of think of something. Uh, I think when I first was starting, because I always knew that I wanted to, get into fashion. It was more of a sense of like how, and I didn't really have kind of an understanding of the fashion industry. I was in tech sales before this for 5 years, um, and then decided to just go to school. But when I was first, I can even remember myself like looking up online like tips to starting a clothing brand, and all the advice that I would get was don't. like don't do it. Like so what I'm getting at is um, you know, if people are in this, if people are looking to, or if someone's listening and they want to start a clothing brand for the money, um it's just not, it's I would advise people to go, different routes, whether it's like custom or um, freelance or whatever it might be. But with that being said, like I loved hearing that as a, when I was first starting it, I loved hearing the advice of don't, because I was so obsessed with, um, you know, not proving anyone wrong, because like my family and friends were absolutely so supportive when I was first starting this, but it was more or less like, if you're not obsessed, and like if you're not obsessed and thinking about this or whatever you're doing 100% of the time, it's not going to work. And the reality of it is, I think it's like 95 to 98% of clothing brands, flop within like the first 2 years. So it's a big gamble, but it's also, it's also something of like, if you are really obsessed with this and you are really willing to put in like the time and the work and the effort, then like do it, like totally do it. Because it's the same thing with any saturated market, like whether it's music or, obviously fashion, like it's, it's just one of those things where like people, and sorry if it sounds cliche, but like people will tell you like, hey, it's not the right way to go, um but do it anyways. Because like if you are so passionate about something, if you're so obsessed about something where it literally cannot leave your mind 24/7, like just go after it. And if you and I don't want to sound like I'm a motivational speaker or anything, but like, but like if you really want something, and if you really are passionate about it, like, and you are obsessed about it, there's no reason not to do it. And if you do it and you fail, oh, whatever. Like, it's, at least you tried, Like, there was a cool thing that I remember, like a quote from like, I think it was like ASAP Rocky or something. And like he was on an interview and he was just talking about like, when did it become not cool to try? You know, like when did it like when did it be like, why is that not cool anymore? Like, people should, and I've met so many people that are like so incredibly talented, that like that just need to try, like to just put themselves out there. And I think a lot of, artists struggle with, um whatever they want to put out there, whether, it's just art, like painters, or whether it's fashion or whether it's music. Like, people are so talented, but they're just so worried about what other people might think, that they're not going to put out what they love. Like, you should be making art for yourself, and if other people like it, then great, that's awesome. Like, that's a great feeling. But people aren't going to like it. Some people aren't going to like it. Like, not art isn't meant to be loved, art is meant to be criticized. Like, it's meant to be like debated over, if that kind of makes sense. Like, it's not meant for, everything to be so perfect. And then I'll also use like a quote uh from Ye himself, like Kanye. Like, even he said like, I can't remember the quote exactly, but like, if you're always trying to give the right answers, then like your whole life is a test. And when did you have the most anxiety? Like, on test day. You know what I'm saying? So like, what I'm really trying to get at is like, there's just so much talent that I've seen, and that I know that is out there. Um, but people are just, you know, too concerned about like what other people are going to say about their art. And I that's one like piece of, I guess, advice, and like one thing that I tell any artist that I work with. um like, it's easier said than done for sure, but like, just do it. Like it, like even like when I remember me and uh my buddy Freddie, who's working on it with working on Call Your Friends with me. Also got to give a shout out, obviously, to Wally, Freddie, Johnny, um, Greg, and Doug, who are all working on this with me, and then a whole bunch of different people. But I remember when, like, kind of our stigma at first, or our quote that we would always go by was, if we help one person, then we're successful. Then I see that as a success. Like, I'm not like that's if I can help one person, it's successful. Like that's success in my eyes. And like, um, luckily it 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 did a lot better at the beginning than I anticipated. And um, but yeah, I mean, once again, I'm rambling on. So
That's what the podcast is for you or for me to just ramble your thoughts and really just talk about everything. And I like what you said about art, where like a lot of people in their eyes, like art is for someone or for something to be depicted, to be criticized. And a lot of people have to look past that. Like in the line of work that I'm doing with like club promoting, a lot of people have their eyes on me because they're trying to see my production. They're trying to see how I'm going at things. They're trying to see how I deal with those things. And the list goes on and on and on. And they're just looking for just one little slip up to being like, oh, this art piece is so bad. Like, oh my God, like I can't stand this artist. Like, I don't know why he would make something about that. But it makes it more unique. And the reason why I say it makes it more unique because you built something that can build a picture of holy shit, like I like what this artist is doing. Like he's going at an angle that hasn't been touched before, right? Because like there's always going to be that one person that'll be like, I understand this artist, I understand where they're coming from, whether it's in clothing, entertainment, music, club world, whatever, right? And that's what makes like art, especially in a city like Chicago, just so dope because you meet so many different creators that are like, okay, like I want to do it like this, or I want to do it like that, or would be dope. Like, man, like I wish I would try this, or I wish I would try that. And in your mind, like you're just creating so many different avenues to where it's like, yeah, like this would be cool with my design. Like, obviously, like you're not going to take it copy and paste, but you're going to be like, okay, like if I did this, but then switched around that, like, okay, like we can make something bigger than what we already had. So when you were creating Call Your Friends, what brought your attention? My bad, something was in my eye. What brought your attention to being like, all right, we're gonna call this Call Your Friends, give it a year, and we're gonna take the fuck off.
that's a good question. um, you know, I think that at the beginning it was really how can I help um it was really how can I help people that struggle with mental health issues. um and that was like my primary um cause. And like I thought about even going just like more of the charity route, nonprofit route, because that's all I really cared about, because it's something that's really dear to me. And but when I came up with the idea, of call your friends, of combining it with clothing, which I've obviously have mentioned a couple times that I'm pretty obsessed with. Um, I just knew that, um, I knew that from a clothing sense, like I'm gonna do the best that I possibly can. I'm gonna put, you know, the most effort that I possibly can into making, you know, these clothes. And if it doesn't work out, like I said, it doesn't work out. But um, as far as a plan, I I had no idea what to expect in terms of, um, because full time I do technical design and product management. Um, and um, just to put it in perspective, um, when I first had like my first batch of hoodies, because I knew I wanted to start off with hoodies because I just, I love hoodies. I'm just passionate about the silhouette of a hoodie. Um, so I really wanted to start off with the simplicity of the hoodie, getting the name out there, getting the quality out there and everything. And like I said, to put it in perspective, I basically made enough hoodies to last me for 5 months, and I sold out of those hoodies in less than 48 hours. Yeah. So I mean, it was a, like, I keep going back to it, but just a surreal feeling of like, I remember the first person that like walked in there, had no idea who they were or anything, and they were like, "This is so cool," and I was like blown away. Like I like it like it got me emotional. Like I was like, "What?" like it was almost like confusing. Like it's a hard thing to express. When like someone likes, or just likes what you make, or what like you're passionate about. And so yeah, I mean, like, so now, to kind of answer, I mean, your question from the beginning, I had no idea what to expect because I was totally off on how much I thought I was going to sell at the beginning. um, and which is, obviously a great problem to have, because obviously the more we're selling, the more we're helping people. But like, n- now it's just continuously keeping it going. It's keeping the momentum going, um, which is really the hard thing to do with any business or clothing brand, is um, is keeping that momentum going. So it's I'm not going to sit here and say like I had like a super set like plan of like, this is how it's going to happen. I'm like such a person of like, I have one idea one day and then I have a totally idea the next day, and I'm just like, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this, let's do that. Like I'm all over the place when it comes to design, for sure. Um, so that's why I knew I needed some help from like a business perspective. Um, and and yeah, I mean, it was just a surreal feeling, and we've just been you know backed up on orders, basically um because I had no idea that we were going to sell this many. And you know I truly hate like disappointing people. It's like, I'm not trying to sound like a saint over here or anything, but like I hate disappointing people in the sense of like, you know, they just have to wait a little bit longer because I don't want to cut corners when it comes to making these hoodies. Um, so it's just been, it's just been, it's just been, I guess, hard to like, tell people, hey, like, I'm sorry, you got to wait a little bit longer. Um, just because there's so much that goes into making these hoodies where like, and it goes back to the fast fashion thing where I think a lot of people have gotten just so used to um, you know buying something and having it on their doorstep the next day. Like, partially a lot of it was like, it's simpler to say like, my bad. Like, didn't know I didn't know that I was going to, sell this much at the beginning. Like, I had no idea. Um, um, and like, I guess like it's a true, sincere like apology that I give to like, anyone that kind of reaches out to me. But like, I also just like want to really get it across to people that, like, I'm not going to cut any corners in order for anyone just to like get it like a garment quicker, if that makes sense. Because like, I just have so much passion and obsession with what I do in fashion, where yeah, I could cut a lot of corners and I could have a couple thousand more hoodies in a week if I like, if I wanted to, but they then I would just be falling back into what I the whole reason that I started this brand was to not go back, like, to go back into what some other kind of fast fashion brands are doing. And obviously it it costs more money to do this. It costs way more time. But like, for me, it's not like, it's not about the money or the time. Like, it's about like what you're gonna get at the end of the day, the end product that's gonna last you for the rest of your life. So once again, long-winded answer. I can ramble on about this because there's just so much going on with with Call Your Friends right now, where um, it's just been like just a surreal feeling. And I definitely wouldn't be where I am without um, without my support group, without my family, without my friends. And I know a lot of people don't have that same support group. Um, so I think that, you know, disregarding even um, the clothing aspect of Call Your Friends, like I mentioned it earlier, I really do see it as so much more than a clothing brand at the end of the day. Um, and we have some really cool things that we're doing, that I guess I can kind of talk on them now, but
Yes, let's
if you're
go.
excited to hear about them. But some cool things that we're implementing, and sorry, Doug. Doug's kind of the mastermind behind this. He's
My
been
bad, dog.
yeah, we gotta apologize to Doug. Um, but we're doing something called the Community Journal. Is what we've kind of named it. Where in therapy they really preach journaling. Um, and I think a lot of people, kind of have that, that tough guy syndrome of like, I don't like, I'm not doing this. Like, this is a bunch of BS or whatever. But like, it does really help. So, um, what we are essentially implementing is a community journal, like I mentioned, where anyone can go on, anonymously, or not anonymous, not anonymously, excuse me, to the website. And it's basically, we have topics of like, what does mental health mean to you, or whatever the topic of like the week is, or you can just go on there and basically write, just journal. And if you don't want to, write, you can at least go on there and read, um, to see, like, you know, whatever you're dealing with, like, there's a 99.9999% chance that you're not dealing with it alone. And I think it's really important, like, um, it's basically just like a support group for, um, online, for anyone to utilize, um, to basically, like, one, tell their story, like I said, anonymously, and give them the chance to journal, um, and just like get their thoughts out on paper or on a computer. But it also gives people the opportunity to realize that they're not alone in what they're going through. So, um, it's a really cool feature that we're doing, and um, we're beta testing it right now, but it's set to go live, I'll say, pretty soon. That's what I'll leave it at. Sorry, Doug.
My bad, Doug. But that's so dope because like not a lot of clothing businesses are doing that, and it makes the interactions so much more special when you're selling these sweatshirts, where you're selling these shirts, where you're selling your brand, because it's like, holy shit, like we just sold to someone that was going through this, and now like their lives have changed, and like just going through all those responses and just like going through what people have overcome to get to the point that they're at, it's tear jerking because you're like, damn, like I got to keep going. Like I got to keep doing this authentic path because it's like it might take a while, but it's worth that time because you're just changing so many lives in front of you.
Yeah, man, it's tear jerking to me. Like, just even the amount of people, that have reached out to me, and the people that would come into, the pop-up that we had, um, and express their story, and everything, like it, it's 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 heavy, it's heavy. And but it needs to be talked about, because, like I said, some people, do have that tough guy syndrome behind them, um, or they feel like they can't, or they don't have that support system that I was lucky enough to be graced with. Um, so I just want to be able to, give that support system to, you know, people that don't necessarily have it. And, so that's why, one, I'm excited to obviously, release that, and give people the opportunity to, um, just to share their thoughts, and also read, and make sure and see that they're not alone, but just also to get more comfortable with talking about, their feelings, and how they feel, because, you know it, like, I hate, like, suicide and self-harm is an epidemic right now. And like from the ages, I think it's like the ages of like 25 or 20 to 35 or something like that. It's the second leading cause of suicide, is the second leading cause of death in men and in the United States, which is just like a wild, like it's an epidemic, you know? Um, so I'm saying a lot of things, but we're really, what I'm just trying to get at is it's one that it's something that obviously really motivates me, um, because the clothing is obviously something that I'm obsessed with, um, and but this is like when it comes to helping people and um, just the mental health aspect, like that that's that's a whole that's not an obsession. Like that's my life, like that's like I don't even know how to express how much like that means to me. Like I can't put words to it because it means so much to me, because like yeah, I can talk about like fashion as for days, and like yes, I'm obsessed with it, but like when it comes to people and helping people, like there's just no words to the feeling that um you know or just how much that means to me. And I'm I'm trying to keep it cool, because uh yeah, I'm not trying to keep it cool, but that's just yeah, I'm just excited about everything that we're we're trying to do.
Yeah, and it's just so amazing just like thinking about like the start of it all to where you're at now, and the road is just getting deeper and deeper, and the success is just going to keep on coming and keep on flowing, and your hard working ethic, your passionate ethic, and then the team that you have around you. I just sense nothing but success for y'all. I just want my sweatshirt coming soon, man.
I know. But yes, the hoodies are coming very, very soon. Um, uh, they will be a much larger restock next week, which I'm thankful for, and I appreciate the team that's helped create those, because they are all made by hand. Um, so I just big thank you to everyone that's helped me, you know, make this dream become a reality for sure.
Shout out to Call Your Friends. Shout out to Kevin. Shout out to Doug. Shout out everyone at Call Your Friends. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Out of like, I don't say this a lot. Out of all the people that I've interviewed, you're at the top of the list for just like the most like influential and like the most like relaxed and like the most passionate. Like I really enjoyed this so much. So you're more than welcome to come on anytime. Hopefully we can do a podcast, which would be the first ever 1497 podcast in person very, very soon. And then anytime y'all need a yacht session or a club, like a club section to promote your brand in that department, I'm your guy for it. But otherwise, have a good weekend, and we'll stay in touch. We'll be hitting the
We'll,
lines.
we'll absolutely stay in touch. I got to give some shout outs
Give
just again to obviously to you. I really appreciate you inviting me on here. We're obviously going to stay in touch. Um, like I mentioned, a huge shout out to first and foremost my mom and dad. Then also my family, And then my immediate family, my extended family, and then huge shout out, obviously, to uh, Wally, Doug, um, Freddie, Greg, um, not making sure I'm not missing anyone, and everyone that's helped out with Call Your Friends. So uh, yeah, you can follow us at Call Your Friends Clothing, and then you can also follow me at Kevin Owens underscore 218. I think is my Instagram name. I'm pretty sure, but I post I post some stuff on a lot of my art on my personal page, as well as uh, primarily using Call Your Friends. It's just as like obviously just Call Your Friends focused stuff. So yeah. But overall, appreciate you the most, my man.
No problem. I'm glad to make it happen. Go follow Call Your Friends Clothing on Instagram. Go follow Kevin on Instagram as well. Follow the 1497 podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. I've been having some fun with Threads. Threads is very fun. It's like TikTok. It's very that's besides the point. I'm going on a ramble with Threads. But
We'll talk about it offline.
yeah, we'll talk about Threads offline, but I hope everyone has a good weekend. Michael will be back. We got a lot to talk about, and before I even go New York, go New York, go! Come on, baby, come on! But we out of here.